yeah, I want to make sure everyone's happy. Keep everybody happy, brother. Right on. Hello, everybody. Corley with the preset. This is the first. I can just take over the show right now. So today on the scrap, we have Corley Moore. It's going to be a great show as soon as Corley gets back. There he is, today's guest, Corley Moore. Making his way over to the table on the mic.
Let me ditch this. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Corley.
Yo.
I think we're live.
Did it go live automatically?
Apparently, yeah. Welcome to my show.
I thought I turned that off, but I think it resets and does it on its own.
Say hello to our friends.
Yeah, we'll see. It's all good. Yeah, we're live. Yeah. We got people watching. Hey, look at old Rob with his pretty hair. Let me before hello from Tennessee from Amanda Miller. Ready to get max varsity points all night. Let me turn this here. Yo, Rob, you the man. Pluscoto and the boys in Washington checking in.
Hell yeah.
Someone said double fisted with drinks. Yeah, there's only one way to get it done. I don't know why, but Facebook keeps changing shit on us, and so it goes live on its own, whether I click the button or not. So bottom line is this. We're live. Firehouse Vigilance Weekly Scrap coming at you, pulling up the notes. Maybe.
That was different.
Yeah, very different. And it still won't. Here it is. Okay. Weekly Scrap, number 184. I am going to try and trim this intro down. So please bear with me. Tonight's guest is Rob Ramirez of National Rescue Consultants, the Mayday Mindset, Mr. Varisty AF. He has been a student of the fire service for more than 20 years. Homeland Security, FEMA, USAR, Florida Task Force, since 2006. Haiti, when it was shaking apart. He went through Katrina. Who knows how many other hurricanes, how many others. An instructor with credentials to back it up, a founding member of Firefighter Advanced Survival Techniques. He has been published articles, fire engineering, you name it. He has taught at every conference worth mentioning. Man, I'm excited about the scrap. Many times I'm introducing a stranger, but tonight I get to introduce my friend, Rob Ramirez. It's my pleasure to have you on as the guest of Weekly Scrap number 184. Welcome, my brother.
My brother, thank you for having me again, man. It's starting to feel like home. And hello to everybody watching. It was pretty cool to get started without you being here. And
I had no idea.
No, neither did I. Thank God for our brother in the background here. Yeah, let me know we were live.
He makes it.
Go ahead.
No, there's a toggle that says go live automatically or wait until I say, and I swear to God, I hit do not go live until I say so. Obviously, I was wrong because we're live. But I think you are striving to hold the record as most scraps.
That's it.
Scott Thompson, Kurt Isaacson, Rob Ramirez. I mean, I'm not sure there's anybody that's in that.
Wow.
And I didn't realize it because you were in obviously your first original scrap, and then the mega scrap where we talked about Mayday and RIT. And then we did Orlando Fire Conference just recently. And even before I knew you were going to be on that, I'd scheduled you for this one. So yeah, you have the magic four.
That's awesome. And the names you mentioned, Corley, there, that's a big deal. That's a big deal to me.
Dude,
that means everything to me personally. Those are Mount Rushmore guys right there.
And the coolest part is I met you when you came to Oklahoma and you completely volunteered your time. You came here for a fundraising conference that we did here in Oklahoma, and that's where me and you became the best friends ever. And that's what's really cool about it is it's like we really are like friends.
Absolutely, 100%. I told you this morning, just to give everybody a peek behind the curtain. This morning when I texted him, I was like, I'm super excited about going on. And it's the most relaxed I've ever been on a podcast or any of this kind of stuff. Because normally you get some type of jitters. You don't want to, say something wrong or mess up. But I'm having another conversation with a good friend, and it's a home run. Hope everyone enjoys it.
Is there anything I missed in the intro? Because my intro was based off of your first intro back in the 90s, episode 90s, not the 1990s. But anything I missed?
No, that's more than enough. You said too much. Thank you.
No,
you $10.
Audience, please get your questions primed and ready. Here's the deal. Kyle is usually in here fielding questions, but tonight he is actually live teaching a webinar, Cruel Intentions with Fire Nuggets, which is amazing and it's awesome. And I tried to put out a post saying, hey, here's the deal. You can always catch the scrap. So please, if you can, register for that and go catch it. And I was even trying to sign up for it, and I had trouble because I was out to dinner when I realized it. So not the point. The point is the reason I bring all that up is, A, if you can, catch out Ramagus's scrap on Cruel Intentions because it's amazing. And if you get a chance to watch the recording or watch it live, it's amazing. But if you have questions for Rob and myself tonight, you're gonna have to spam the channel to make sure I get to the questions because Kyle's not here to grab them and pull them out. So that's the reason I wanted to bring that up. Besides the fact that Cruel Intentions is amazing. Okay. The Vigilantes. Go to firehousevigilance.com. Sign up for the Vigilantes if you have not already, because here's the deal. The blackout coin, which I'm very proud of, and I like to show it off each and every time. You can only get this by being a member of the Vigilantes. It's numbered on the back, and depending on when you signed up and when you joined, like, you can't get this anymore. If you didn't sign up in 2022, you'll never get this coin. But here's my plan. When we go to conferences, we're going to have vigilante meetups, and anybody who's a vigilante can meet up, and then they have their coins, and we're going to make a game out of who has the lowest numbered coin, etc., as time progresses. All that being said, I'm very excited about the Vigilantes. Firehousevigilance.com. Sign up, get all the exclusive content, and be part of it. We just added the ability to sign up for a year or monthly, and it's going to be great, especially as we get more organized in the Vigilante meetups. So there we go. This episode is brought to you by Key Hose. Check them out on Facebook, The Hose Experts. Then there is the Affordable Drill Tower, firefighter, owned and operated. The only thing that you cannot do in an affordable drill tower is live fire. Affordable Drill Tower. You can rappel, stretch hose lines, go through the stairs, go through the floor, do window bailouts, cut holes in the roof props, use the apartment balconies, pump into the FDC, flow water from the sprinkler system. Call Steve, 844-55-TOWER, or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. FDIC International. It is where the fire service comes together. Be there April 24th through the 29th at the Indiana Convention Center to learn from the best, see the most innovative products and services from leading companies, and recharge your passion for the industry. You can still get registered to attend the big show. Register now at FDIC.com and use the promo code SCRAP. And here we go. Let me pull this up. One more. I'm going to type it in. Give me 1 second. Because I want to get the actual. Yeah. Citizens First Fire Training. There is absolutely nobody more dedicated to live hands-on training than Citizens First Fire Training. You can check them out. Citizens First Fire Training. They are an AMCUS absolute dealer, distributor, and here we come. Check them out. Citizens First Fire Training. Chris Kessinger, one of the absolute best in what we do. And with all that being said, our sponsors are in, and I'm going to catch everybody up with everything that's being being sent in here because there is a lot. Howard Reinwald said, "Da bomb." Joey Hayes said, "Solid brother, right her," with the HUR. Don Sapp said, "Outstanding."
OG.
Yeah, no doubt about it. OG. Listening from down under comes from Steve Kaiser. Mark J. Rossi said, "There is a term we use in the training arena called common ground erosion." Oh, we're actually getting into questions. Hold on. I'm not there yet. I'm just reading. All right. Justin Fraze chimed in and said, "Varsity AF." Which,
There we
Rob, are you ready for the
go. Sure.
first question coming from the audience before we even start?
Send it, brother.
All right. Christopher Snow out of Texas. My man wants to know, where did the Varsity AF mindset come from and what does it mean to you?
It's a great question that I've actually never been asked ever, ever, ever. And it's a funny story. It's not, I wish it was a better story, but somewhere around my high school, I played baseball.
Okay.
I played baseball in high school, transferred a couple times. I went to 4 different high schools in 4 years down in the South Miami area. And, chasing that baseball dream and being a horrible student. So it's not a good combination. So, so anyways, long story short, Chris, somewhere around my junior year, going into my junior year of baseball, I was supposed to be a starting varsity baseball player on the varsity team. And because of poor preparation, poor attitude, immaturity, time not well spent, I was brought into the coach's office right before the season started on my junior year. And I was told that he was going to move me down to the JV or the junior varsity team as a junior. You're good enough to play ball, but your attitude is not where it should be. Your preparation is not where it should be. Your mindset is not where it should be.
Right.
And for a kid, that meant everything to me to be on that varsity team. And I was completely devastated by it. Little did this man know, that 30 years later almost, I'm trying to still live up to being on that varsity player, that junior year varsity player where I should have been, not a JV player. And I carried that with me into the fire service. I want to be on the varsity team. I want to be on the big boy team. When guys get out there on a fire scene and get picked by the fire chief to do the shittiest job, I want to be on it. When guys are on the training ground preparing for the shittiest job, I want to prepare at the highest level. When everybody wants to shovel shit, when no one wants to shovel shit, but it's the only thing that we're doing, I want to shovel shit with the best of them. Even if I'm not the best, I'm going to work as hard as I can to be the best. And I expect that from the people around me. And I prepare to that level. And then it became a thing where a buddy of mine, I used to just say it all the time, and I'll say it right now, it's varsity as fuck. And I don't use the AF. I use the AF all the time, obviously, because I'm an older man now with kids. But I used to say it all the time with the guys. Anytime we do something cool in the fire service, it was varsity AF. Hey, went to that fire, saw what you did, varsity AF. Hey, how about that call, varsity AF? Dude, that was varsity. That was varsity. And it just carried over into where we are today. And it really, really means a whole lot more to me than just a childish thing. And it goes all the way back to my junior year of high school. It's a great question.
No, and I actually, although it completely carries, the spirit of it completely carries, because that's all I've ever known from you. Is like one of my first quotes that I knew from you was, there's levels to this game.
Right.
There's levels to this game, bro.
It all comes from athletics, bro. It all comes from being that baseball player with a bad attitude.
Scott Sanders wants to know,
the Colonel,
how do you keep the fire burning with all you have going on in your life? Family, firehouse, training company. At some point, the candle burns together and the flame may go out. Just curious. It's a great question.
Man, we're getting deep right off the rip. Let me
right out the gate.
All right. I've had this conversation with Corley, with everybody else is doing this. Balance is a moving target, and it's our greatest challenge. The guys that are doing this, guys like you, Scotty, guys like myself and Corley and everyone that's moving around and sharing their passion and scattering information and meeting other brothers, and we get this amazing feedback from the people and this great feeling of joy that I get when I'm out there and talking about something that burns inside of me that I can't control. You don't get to choose your passion. Your passion chooses you. Mine just happens to be the job that I do already. I'm not the guy that goes fishing. I'm not the guy that goes boating. I'm not the guy that goes hunting. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that reads fire service books, goes to the fire department, and goes to train firefighters on my days off. And I enjoy the shit out of it. And I'm not ashamed for it. I'm unapologetically ate up by this job. That's where it starts. Now, the balance between family and work is an absolute struggle at every level for every one of us. Because no matter what you do and how you justify it, you're always robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to be missing days at home at work. You're going to be missing days at home on the road when I'm teaching. And it's a thing that needs to start at the house, I believe. It's a shared vision between my partner and I, my son's mother and I, my family. We all have eventually figured out what works for us. And I do my very, very best to be present. It is so easy for us to go to shift, travel to a place, teach at a conference, hang out with the guys, share a passion, scatter more than we gather, fly home, and show up to the house with two yellow amber lights blinking like a radio battery, chirping, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
sit on the couch and get charged up to green, where you got 4 green lights flashing, and at that time you're ready to pack up and go on your next trip.
Head out. Yeah.
But all your family ever gets is those 2 amber yellow lights and a chirping radio battery. And that, in my opinion, is so unfair to them. So I'm very conscious of that, about what I bring home. It can't be just 2 amber yellow lights all the time. It's got to be green. And once it gets green, I got to stay home and give them all that green because they deserve it just as much as everybody else does.
Right on, brother. Brother, I love the message. And I love the analogy because everybody understands that chirp, chirp.
Chirp, chirp, man. Exactly. Exactly.
No. And I tell people this all the time because that's one of the big questions I get is how do you keep up this intensity? It's like, I could not have kept this intensity up 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I could not have done it. My kids are all grown up and I don't have grandkids right now. So I have a special window, right. So hands off, man, or hats off to the people who can keep up the intensity and keep them batteries charged and not just bring that back to just bring home the amber.
Yeah, it really is tough.
Dave, dude, we haven't even got to a single question we planned, but David Pruitt has one coming at you. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. David Pruitt wants to know, what is your process when creating new content for the Mayday Mindset? Do you ever apply the new technology to previous Maydays and near misses and see where or how they could have made a difference?
1000%. It's not as automatic. It's a very organic process for me now. It's just the way my brain works. I'm not out here teaching every subject matter. I'm not out here teaching and talking about every single type of truck company operation, searching, stretching. I'm not doing these things. My mind is, again, unapologetically one-track minded right now. So whenever I do hear about Maydays, I follow up on them immediately. I'm pretty aware and I got my finger on the pulse about all the Maydays and near misses happening. If it's being reported, I'm finding out very, very soon, and then I'm following up on it. And again, today's question, the Mayday Mindset program itself is in a constant state of evolution. I've never taught the same lecture twice. Every time I do a presentation, it changes because it's a system. It's not a thing. And in order for your systems to be relevant, they need to be updated constantly, especially something that is data driven. As I'm pushing data out there, the data needs to be up to date, and keeping that data up to date. I mean, up to date to the morning of that presentation, I'm pulling information. So if you show up at a presentation on Tuesday and then go to the same presentation on Wednesday, you're going to get different information if something's happened somewhere. Okay. So we have to update our systems no matter what they are. And the program itself has been in a constant state of change since its inception, because everything that's happened, and you know what? I could have taught something 4 years ago that I thought was a cat's ass and it was the best technique ever. And now 4 years later, I've done a 180 on it and it's no longer applicable under stress. So I'm not doing it anymore. And that's basically how the program itself works. And I'm pretty sure that Corley, you're the same way with your stuff, because your stuff changes presentation to presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Within reason. Like mine's very, but no, especially, and I know you'll associate, connect with this. It's my fear is the ignorance, not knowing what I don't know, so I'm constantly hungry to learn, because the last thing I want to be is that guy who everybody's like, oh God, no, that's not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's one of my fears. So absolutely the fear of ignorance is a driving factor, healthy or unhealthy as it may be. How do you keep the fire alive in your firehouse, keeping the men and women hungry and motivated? This comes from Wyatt McCall.
Wyatt. So Wyatt's a great guy, first and foremost. So what's up, Wyatt? Thanks for watching, brother.
Rock on.
It's a great question. It's tough. It's tough. I'm not going to sit here and throw stones at anybody who has a tough firehouse. I've been in tough firehouses. I've been in firehouses where they're way more senior than me, and I'm the junior guy at the firehouse, and I happen to be the company officer. And there's different ways to get buy-in from everybody. I don't want to say trick, because trick is a bad word, but the way that I get the best buy-in from people is through relationship building. And
Nice.
I know I'm going to get eye rolls and what are you talking about, Rob? And why do you have to build relationships with these people if you're the boss? There's levels to authority, right? There's the authority invested upon us by the organization you work for based on how well you tested, right? And that's your rank. That's what I believe. Then the authority vested upon us by the members who work with you and who you work with, your subordinates, right?
Right.
They're going to respect you for either the authority vested upon you by the organization you work for, or because they give a shit about you, because you give a shit about them. I let everybody know right off the rip, I care about you and I care about your development. And there's been times in my career, man, where guys are not used to hearing that. And guys need to see action and not words. And they may have heard it before from someone else. And that same officer may have gone back and locked himself in the room, never to be seen again until it's dinner time. He only comes out to feed like a grouper and then right back to his cave. And that really is a South Florida thing, right? We fish. So I don't fish, but my buddies do.
Right.
But go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. So it's man, it's to give you an honest answer. There is no cookie cutter approach to it, and everything's been said already. You go out there, you train, so they hear you, they'll come out. You start doing something, they'll follow. You bring them out, but listen, if you work with a real tough crew, show them you care, show them they matter. Try to find that fire in them that they lost before you got to that firehouse, right? Ask them for 2 hours a day. You know, we work 24, 48, right? So I have a 24-hour shift. You give me 2, I'll give you 22.
Right on.
Give me 2 hours, man. 2 hours and we'll get out there. And you do that consistently and it becomes a norm. And once that norm is established, you got to stick to it as a boss, and they're going to go out there and expect it. And they're going to jump in and they're going to participate. And if one guy wants to participate in bunker gear and no SCBA, but the other guy doesn't want to wear an SCBA, trust me, that guy who's just participating in gear will end up in an SCBA at some point, because that's the way these men operate. And you and I have been around them for a very long time. We know that to be true. Absolutely. But the leading by authority, by my bugles, I'm a captain, my name's Rob, this is what we're going to do today, that's never been my style. I find it very hypocritical and it's fake. So I can't do that. It works for some guys, and God bless them. I know some really good officers that run their firehouses with the authority vested upon them, and shit happens and they're good companies. It just doesn't work for me. So that's what I would tell Wyatt. I would tell Wyatt, get out there, don't cookie cutter the approach, talk to these men, get to know them, find out what makes them tick, find out what moves their needle, and then get after it with them at whatever level they're ready to get after it with off the beginning. You can't start off with a smoke diver drill, you know? Keep it simple and build on that.
Love it, man. So much going on. The way of the nozzle, Raymond says, bro, you give me 2, I'll give you 22 max points. That's awesome. And Jamal Meyer said, give me 2 and you'll get 22. That's what's up. Speaking of, let me make sure I'm missing so many people. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm keeping up very well. There is a term we use in the training arena called common ground erosion. Okay, good. Can you please explain what this is and give an example of common ground erosion, especially for the newer generation of firefighters? This comes from Mark J. Rossi.
Mark Rossi, City Fort Lauderdale, great guy. So Mark has been around me when I'm teaching this class. He's been one of the instructors for conferences when we've been out teaching in Fort Lauderdale. He knows what that means. Common ground erosion is what we refer to what I talk about during a Mayday and during a fire scene, right? That common ground erosion is what the fire ground does to the operating members in that fire ground. So the importance of common fire ground language is completely underestimated. If you as a company do not have common language, words matter. Words matter. Corley, you're an avid reader. Guys that read understand. Words do matter. So as a company, not as an organization, because that's very global and very broad, and that's delineated within the policies and procedures set into your organization. But as a company, you have to have common language that means something to the members assigned to your firehouse. As a company, and even as a shifter battalion, if you want to expand on that, man, God bless you guys and go after it. But if I'm saying on my if I'm on an engine company, let's say, right, which I'm not, if I'm on an engine company and I tell the guys, hey, We're going to go stretch beyond the pre-connect. Every member on that company needs to know what that means in our firehouse. They need to know who's responsible for what appliance, who's pulling the first section, who's pulling the second section, what nozzle's being put in play, and how far we're going. And all I have to say is we're stretching beyond the pre-connect because our trucks are pre-connected. We're piped in pre-connected lines on these fire trucks in South Florida. We're not counting pieces of hose as we're coming off and estimating our stretches, because we're not doing this, Northeast thing, which the guys do up there, right? So as we're operating on a pre-connect fire truck, we need to have language that means something to us. It's a play like in a football play. Now, what happens? During the time that you're on the fire ground, that fire ground does not give a shit about anything that we've done before we got there. So as the stress level goes up, so does the communication. But then the listening goes down. Everybody starts talking, but no one's listening. Because you tend to talk when you're under stress. And you'll see it when guys do like simple things like a drill and they go into a building and they're searching a room and you get two guys in there who really haven't worked together or are not comfortable in that environment. They'll start talking about, I feel a light switch, I feel a wall, I passed the couch, I passed the carpet, I've run from carpet to tile, I've touched a dog, I petted the dog, it was his tail, I went to the drawer, I checked it with the drawer, and they overtalk. Right. And the guy behind him is not listening. So what happens, guys, is that basically during this time of high stress, if you do not have solid fireground communications, it's going to start breaking down. As the activity level goes up, the anxiety goes up, the stress goes up, a mayday gets dropped. That fireground's going to eat away at your freaking common ground, which is established first by common language, like waves hitting the freaking beach and drawing sand. It doesn't give a shit. It just keeps coming and pulling. And if you are not rock solid as a company with your common ground expectations and your common ground knowledge and your common ground language, your mayday is going to happen way faster than mine is. Sometimes you see, you're like, man, this crew works so well together. They don't even have to talk. They just know what everybody's doing. That's a solid common ground. The crews that have to talk about, you're gonna get
rocked by them waves as they just keep on, because they're not stopping.
No, they're not stopping. They don't give a shit. They're perilous. It's gonna happen. Doesn't matter how bad it is, it's gonna keep happening to you. And if you don't have a rock solid common ground or common language, it's gonna eat away at it. And as you eat away at it, that common ground erosion is gonna lead to a mayday or lead to a near miss. Happens every single time. You sit here and you study fireground communications, and you'll notice right away that there was very little common language or common ground in that fireground. And a lot of this language is colloquial, right? It's regional. Right? It means something. That jargon means something to the companies. And if your company doesn't have that colloquial or regional jargon, then you're going to fail, bro. You're going to fail. You got to have it. And where do you establish that? Kitchen table, apparatus bay, and training ground. Not on the fire scene.
All right, man. You ready? Bro, this might be the record for most questions coming without getting to a single question that was planned.
I'm humbled by that.
Dude, I'm telling you, what's your Sam? I'm trying, so I'm catching this one so I don't miss it. Sam Houston wants to know, what's your best resource for staying up to date on the most recent Maydays?
Oof, man, that is tough. I am on my phone and on the internet every single day. National Fire, NFPA, USFA, NIOSH reports. Project Maydays hasn't really been up to date, hasn't been updated. I basically use every avenue available to me that you guys have available to you too. Google searches for the word Mayday, something as simple as that. Mayday today on Google, and you'll find maybe 30 stories. And out of those 30 stories, one will be applicable for the day. And I just breeze through them, and then if I find something, I'll read it. If not, I move on. But if it makes the news, I'm reading it. And every single day, I'll look into the actual United States Fire Administration and see how we're doing with line of duty deaths and civilian deaths. They both mean something to me.
Something to keep in mind, you can set up Google Alerts. If you have a Gmail account, a Google account, you can set up Google Alerts, and you can put keywords in there, and the internet will do the work for you and send you alerts to your phone, which is a great way to do it. All right, Rob, coming at you from Raymond, Big Black, Dorival, The Way of the Nozzle. He asks, do you drill every day with your members, and how physically intensive should that drilling be? Should they be all out draining every time?
So you got to be in love with the preparation first and foremost. we're too results oriented at the fire service. We want results right away. Something that took me a while to learn as a company officer was that every drill doesn't have to be a smoke diver drill. We don't have to end up in wheel breathing every single day. All right. You don't have to end up wheel breathing every single day. Now, I say that, tongue in cheek. If you're operating with members that are at that level, then you train to that level, right? But I'm not very results oriented, meaning I don't need the guys to get it right now. I need to establish the why, establish the how, and then work layer by layer through the process. And the short answer to Raymond's question, Black's question, is no, I don't train every day. Right. I don't, man. But I do train the majority of the time. Okay? There's just days that you have, and we've all been there, that you got shit going on in the morning, you got operational calendars full, whether you're doing public service stuff, where you're doing, meet and greets, where you're doing building inspections, where you're doing pre-fire plans. There's stuff going on. Trucks go out of service. We get busy, and we just don't get to it. Okay? But we train the majority of the time. Listen, it's like the elections, right? You don't have to get unanimous votes to become the president of the United States. You got to get the majority votes, and you still win. I'm thinking I'm running for president at the firehouse. We're training the majority of the time, and we're going to win. But I can't train with my guys every single day. It's physically impossible. Shit gets in the way. The operational calendar gets in the way. The needs of the city and the fire department get in the way.
Right on.
And sometimes my guys are on vacation. I got 2 or 3 guys that don't work with me ever floating through the firehouse, and I'm more worried about them knowing where the stuff is on the truck. More worried about establishing some real quick common language and common expectations than bringing them out there and doing some smoke diver drill. We're forcing a door, throwing 2 ladders, and wheel breathing.
Or building on what you built the tour before.
Exactly.
Right.
Which is what I do. I'm building tour to tour to tour. And it can start on the table and end up, with OODA loop interruption and full bunker gear blacked out.
Oh, man, I lost one. But I just lost a question. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it here. They scroll so fast. There's so many comments coming at you.
Probably clowning.
No, there's not clowning because it's good. There was two questions I really wanted to hit you with. First one is, it's just one word, lunar. Yeah.
What about it? I mean, we all understand how much it sucks, right?
No, I mean, this is going to get us to the knife fight in the elevator. Yeah, they were asking for lunar. What's your thoughts on lunar? You can.
All right, I feel like this has been beat to death, but we're going to keep beating this dead horse, right? Lunar.
Until it's gone, we are going to be the champions of beating this dead horse.
We are going to beat the shit out of this dead horse. All right, so lunar, guys. Lunar. Again, we are not establishing policy in this podcast, and nor am I saying that this lunar doesn't work somewhere on some level. God bless the lunar folks. The people that came up with lunar, God bless them. I mean, your level of exposure is directly correlated to your level of success. You don't know what you don't know. But now we know. Lunar is a impractical expectation, unrealistic expectation of a member in a Mayday. No one trains to that level. The human brain, without getting too nerdy and deep into it, the human brain does not and cannot respond at that level under that type of stress. We are not asking lunar on a fireground training, on a fire academy, I'm sorry. We're not asking lunar at the training grounds at the fire academy. We're not expecting our members to tell us a lunar in a classroom setting. We're asking these members to give us lunar under immeasurable stress, under the worst conditions, where every single decision and action they take is going to lead to a body bag and a casket, or getting out of that situation alive. And you're interrupting that survival process with cognitive questions that require 2 + 2 = 4 thinking. 2 + 2 = 4 thinking does not have a place in the Mayday process. The problem is that unrealistic training has led to unrealistic expectations of our members, and someone wrote it on a piece of paper somewhere, and now it's been taught for the last 25 years that this is what you do during a Mayday. And this is what the guy in the polyester shirt in the climate-controlled automobile on the alpha side or adjunct side of the structure should be asking the member laying in the basement with his mask half knocked off his face, sucking smoke at 2 a.m, thinking if he's going to get home to his family. Hey, dude, what's 86 times 12? I need the answer now, right?
Right.
Okay, now you got to go down this fictitious acronym that they're not going to be able to tell you, when in reality, you can just draw it from them and ask them what they need, what happened, where are you, who the fuck are you?
Right on.
Why do we have to sit there and do this? We're drowning in acronyms in the fire service, drowning in acronyms. I don't know about you guys, but when you learn an acronym, you learn it you're learning it with the cognitive processor in your brain, that hard drive that sits in your freaking prefrontal cortex, right in the front. That's your developed brain, not in your middle lizard brain that gets activated when your stress hormone release happens. When you're in a knife fight in an elevator, here we go, Corley.
There we go.
All right. When you're in a knife fight, let me get comfortable here. When you're in a knife fight in an elevator, bro, nothing else matters but the guy and the knife. Okay? So let me walk the people through this, right? We've done this before. Let's do it again. We spend a lot of time in hotels when we travel and teach, right? And every time I get in an elevator in a hotel and we're heading up to our room or heading up to dinner or meeting Corley downstairs in the lobby for dinner, I picture myself in the elevator, walking into the elevator, looking at my phone. I'll be right downstairs. Elevator music is playing, right? At the proper decibel to just be kind of relaxing. I hit the button. I hit 1. I'm heading down from 12. A gentleman walks in, looks over. We nod. He nods. I nod. You know, common freaking gestures. He looks unassuming. I go right back to my phone, waiting for the elevator door to open. As we start moving again, this gentleman brings out a Crocodile Dundee size knife and starts coming at me like a Tasmanian devil in that elevator box, in that cab. I am trapped by 3 walls and a door. And we're moving, and he's coming at me, and I'm completely unarmed. I'm in a freaking relaxed mindset, worried about my phone. And here he is coming at me, trying to kill me in this box. And we're going from 10 to 9 to 8. And somewhere between 7 and 8, my battalion chief pops his head through the door and says, what's 22 times 87? And shuts the door. That is a lunar. That is a lunar. I am in a knife fight in an elevator, and you're asking me to go from middle brain to front brain and give you some fucking information that you need right now in your climate-controlled buggy and your polyester shirt. I cannot give you that information right now, bro. My leash is so tight, guitar string tight, hair back, hair up, ears pinned back, tail covering my butt like a dog, kicking up grass, tight leash. And you're asking me what some cognitive process requiring mathematical formula equals. I cannot give you that information. But if you loosen my leash, talk to me like a human being, give me information, and talk me down and get my prefrontal cortex reactivated, then I'm going to get back in the fight and be able to give you where I'm at, what I need, what happened, and what information you need, who it is. Otherwise, this lunar process is an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. I said it. I said it. I hope it gets played another 1,000 times. It's an absolute joke. It's an unrealistic expectations from somebody who's dying. And if we're using it, and that's all we're using, and that's the way that we're training, we're going to continue to fail. We're going to continue to fail. And that's on us because we know better. There's a difference. There's a difference between your level of exposure being directly correlated to your level of success. You just don't know what you don't know. I respect that.
Right.
I respect that all day, man.
Absolutely.
That's why we read, Corley. That's why we study. That's why we talk to each other. That's why we network. That's why we go onto the computer and see what's happening in other places. But when you know something out there does not work and you continue to preach it, at that point it is ignorance and it becomes dangerous. And we are at the point of ignorance and danger. And that really makes me uneasy every time I go around and I talk to people about their policy and that shit is still in there.
Woo! I don't even know what to say. Hey, first of all, safe word. Jamal Meyer said, before we ask about lunar again, we need a safe word for Rob. Absolutely. Yeah. No, but 100%. You touched on it, man. Ignorance. People don't know what they don't know. There was a time, and I'll be the first to admit it. There was a time when I taught lunar. Like I sat in a bay and said, hey, here's the deal. Give me your location. What unit are you on? What's your name? You know what I'm saying? And I went through lunar and I taught I taught recruits to spout off a lunar. Now here's what changed is I did a drill that was basically you could walk up to anybody anytime, anywhere and say, give me a lunar, because I wanted everybody to be so proficient at it, right? And what we discovered was you could walk up to somebody cooking bacon and say, give me a lunar, and they had to stop and be like, yeah, run through it.
Right.
And it was like it didn't happen. And it's like, wait, this doesn't work. And then people like you beating the drum, people like Basil beating the drum, and just beating the drum and saying no. And so if you listen to this scrap and you still teach lunar, you are choosing to remain ignorant.
Shame
Plain and
on
simple. You. Yes.
Yeah. Shame on you.
Absolutely. You were fired up. And knife fight in an elevator, bro. I don't know and here's the best part. It's not just the knife fight in the elevator. It is literally the guy poking his head in and saying, hey, what's 7 times? And it don't even have to be that hard. 7 times 8. What is it? What is it?
Yeah. It's a wrap.
Yeah. No.
It's a wrap. It's physically impossible for our brain to switch back and forth. It's a proven fact. These are facts. Fuck your feelings.
Right.
It's physically impossible. You cannot be in that mindset and then switch back and forth. The chemicals do not allow that. Those pathways are shut down.
All right, people, because Rob gets me fired up and I've missed a lot of questions. So do not be afraid to repost your questions. Do not be afraid. Amanda Miller said, train to the lizard brain. The 3 W's, absolutely. Who, what, where, and air. Absolutely. I'm looking, I'm scrolling. Amanda Miller again said, is fixing the book the answer? How big an impact would changing the book have? And I don't know exactly which book you're talking about, unless you're talking about IFSTA or NFPA.
IFSTA,
probably. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's IFSTA. IFSTA's a problem. IFSTA keeps fire conferences in service, and God bless them. IFSTA is the problem. We're training them wrong. We're teaching shit out of that book that we shouldn't be teaching. We're teaching students out of that book to pass an exam and not be proficient. The fire departments are stuck with the proficiency portion of the training. And we're training them to the minimum standard. And at this point, that minimum standard has become an unrealistic expectation, an unrealistic standard. I can't think of anything that comes out of that book today, not a single thing that comes out of that book today, outside of this is a fire truck, and this is the history of the fire service, that doesn't need to be touched and changed.
Woo. Yeah.
100%.
Which that's what I was looking up there was a quote you had in here. Making them easier or harder to kill.
Yes, we're making ourselves easier to kill out of the fire academy, and we're leaving it up to the fire departments to hopefully find somebody along the way that can help you create that mentality and understand and build those systems to make yourself harder to kill. It's when we talk about making somebody harder or easier to kill, it's a multi-layer faceted. It has to do with your fitness. It has to do with your intellectual level. It has to do with the knowledge. It has to do with the application of that knowledge in the real circumstances. It has to do with making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. It has to do with that discomfort and growth process. It has to do with learning from failure. And all that takes time. All that takes time. So if you're the guy or girl in charge of training these new hires, and you expect them to go from 0 to 100, from 0 to 100 within their first year of probation, they're just meeting the minimum standard that entire year. Okay, and this is a process for all extents and purposes, it's an unlimited, infinite process. It is not a finite process. There is no end to this learning. There is no end to this learning. And if you help these young men and women coming in the fire service to understand that there's a great big fire service out there, and what you were taught in the fire academy was to help you become a state or regionally certified or nationally certified firefighter, to get this job, to have this opportunity to fill out this application. But at this point, you need to understand that you know absolutely nothing. And if you're not being a mean person, you're not being wrong, you're helping them survive. You're you're increasing their tenure, you're decreasing the probabilities for a career-ending injury, and by all possibly saving their freaking lives by some of the shit that you're talking about if you're teaching it the right way and showing them how to prepare the right way. There's a lot of information out there that we as instructors or senior members or company officers or anybody that takes the time to teach a new person a single damn thing should be talking about. And the stuff in that book is not it. The stuff in your policies and procedures within your organization, they're great for promotion, but that's also probably not it. That's just the foundation. Your goal as an organization should be to meet the needs of each other and meet the needs of the people we serve.
Right on.
If you're working towards meeting the needs of the people that dial 911 and meeting the needs of the people, the men and women that you work with, if they were to go down, if they needed training, if they needed help, then you're 100% successful, and I will back you up 1,000% of the time, right? But if you're sitting here saying, well, the policy says 2 in, 2 out, the policy says that we need to stage and wait. No, man. No, that's not the answer. The policy is not there to dictate every single movement. The policy is there to keep guidelines, and they're like bowling alley, guards, keep the ball from going out of bounds. But you get to learning and teaching and figuring this shit out is not a linear process from point A to point B. You got to go left, right, up and down, peaks and valleys throughout your career.
All right. Mark Alone's coming at you. Running the Mayday. Keep everyone on the same channel or move everyone but the Mayday to another. IC keeps Mayday or assigned to another supervisor. Seeing it both ways, different places, what is the best way for the firefighter on the other end of it? According to Rob Ramirez, what's your thoughts?
Ooh. All right. So according to Rob Ramirez, I'm going to give you a very mixed answer. Ready?
I'm trying to keep you fired up right now.
Yeah, brother. It really is. I'm like freaking jacked. My blood pressure's got to be out of control. The process of keeping them on the same channel or not needs to be regional. You need to know the capabilities of your fire department, the size of your fire department. What part of his question was, does the IC keep it or does he pass it?
Right.
That depends on the size of your fire department. Do you have enough people on scene to pass it to?
Right.
Some guys and girls may be listening and saying, hey, Rob, we show up with freaking 9 guys. We got to figure this shit out. I've had those questions. You've had them too, Corley.
Yes.
Right? We show up with 9 people. We have nobody else to pass it to. Our mutual aid is coming from 20 minutes away.
Right.
Right. So for me to give you a cookie cutter answer saying you have to pass it every time or not pass it, that's unfair to everyone listening because the fire service is so regionally different. Right. So do whatever works for your organization when it comes to passing it. If there's someone there to pass it to, that's on you guys. Now, as far as staying on the same channel, forget what I think. This is what the data says, right? And the data says that it would benefit us to keep the people in the immediate vicinity of where the Mayday is occurring on the same channel temporarily, not for the entire duration of the Mayday. Again, temporarily. So how do you do that temporarily? In my opinion, you need a very strong command presence, because we all know that if a firefighter is left on that channel or a company is left on that channel to assist with the Mayday as part of the interior operation group, not the RIT team that's responding, they're going to stay there and work their asses off and stay off the air and for as long as they can until either they find them or they themselves become a Mayday or get jammed up. So you have to have a strong command presence. That company officer needs to understand that. Let's just make up numbers right now. Engine 1 calls a Mayday. Ladder 1 happens to be operating near Engine 1. Ladder 1 comes back and says, Chief 1, leave Ladder 1 on the Mayday channel. We're going to assist with the Mayday. It is up to that chief officer to acknowledge that and leave him on there because the data says that it will benefit the outcome, right? Since 89% of our rescues are happening from the people already in the building.
In the building, yes.
Correct. Not the 7% we're sending from the RIT team.
Right.
Right?
Or other.
So, or other, that other, right?
Other.
So, but that chief officer, and this is where command presence comes in, that chief officer needs to understand that in his mind or her mind, you set a stopwatch and you have to check on ladder 1. And you have to follow up with ladder 1 and ask for measurable information. What is your progress? What are the conditions? Have you found them? How are your members? If they do not have solid answers for all that, they're out of the fight. They're out because you're going to end up with not one Mayday, but multiple Maydays. And none of us, I don't give a shit if you're working for the big 4-letter patch fire departments up Northeast or the ones in the middle of the country. None of us are set up for multiple Maydays right off the rip. We're going to need all types of people to come and get us. And we're not set up for that in the first or second alarm. So in order to prevent that and stay with the data, I would keep the people immediately around the Mayday on the same channel temporarily. I would check with them periodically, and if they do not give me concrete information, I'm pulling them out and figuring it out from there. It's a very dynamic situation, but I'm not going to just all loosey-goosey allow everybody in the area to go after the Mayday and not follow up on their progress or conditions, because I'm going to end up with multiple Maydays because that's what the data says. That's my answer. I don't think that there is again, no cookie cutter approach. Depends on your staffing and depends on your command presence and depends on how comfortable you are with the companies operating inside. All this shit has to be established in the fireground when you're training. This is not in the fireground, but when you're training. When you're training is when you establish all these parameters, all these norms, all these expectations, and then you find out who your horses are, and then you let your horses run.
Mark Alone said data and facts. Thanks, bro. BJ Breacher had a good follow-up question. He said, Rob, where can I find the data supporting keeping people temporarily on the same channel?
Project Mayday. Project Mayday is the easiest one to find. It just tells you like how these Maydays have been resolved. There's over 12,000 Maydays on there right now. Over 12,000.
Has anyone picked up the mantle on that in the last year? I mean, I again, Don and all his work and everything. I don't know if anybody's actually picked up the mantle, but
so I do know, and I'm again, I could be speaking out of place right now, but I do know that it is continuing, and that the group that has been working with him the last couple of years is continuing the process. They're still receiving reports, so that is happening. I just don't know who the actual person who is going to be the new Don Abbott is. Rest in peace. But yes. The data for that is mostly available there. And if you listen to Maydays on YouTube, Google Mayday Communications and listen to them, and you're going to hear all these men and women on here going after the Mayday and not being checked on, all these members being ripped off the channel when they could have provided assistance with the Mayday and getting put on another channel with a different chief officer, and the RIT team is on the channel with the down member, and now you just took away 26%. You took away 24% from this company, 26% from surrounding, or 28% from a surrounding company. You took away all the 40% or more almost that you're giving them, that by asking them a lunar, that they are themselves capable of providing self-rescue by asking stupid questions like lunar. And you're giving them, 7%.
Right.
From a RIT team. And all the other, you're moving the other 82% of the solution to a different channel. That just doesn't hold up. If I walk into a casino right now and I got $1 to play, one proverbial dollar, and every slot machine is telling me this one hits 82% of the time, this one hits 16% of the time, this one hits 10% of the time, this one hits 2% of the time. Why wouldn't I put that dollar in the machine that's hitting 82% of the time? Why? Because my policy doesn't allow it? Because Lunar is not set up for it? Because my organizational policies and procedures say that I should put my proverbial dollar into the 2%? If it doesn't make sense, guys, it doesn't make sense. Stay the fuck away from it.
Antoine Hester said, so to reiterate, leave the closest to the Mayday on the same channel and everyone else switch, in your opinion. He said that in quotations.
In my opinion.
Yes.
In my opinion, in accordance with the data and understanding the communications, the way these things happen so fast, leave the members' company if they are not involved in the Mayday and they can assist on the channel. Leave the nearby companies if they are not involved in the Mayday can assist on the channel. Start their RIT team. Strike your alarm. Have dispatch do whatever they do with your PARs, and communicate with the down member like a human being. If Corley is the down member, he is no longer Engine 1 Bravo, and I'm no longer Main Street Command. It is Rob to Corley. Corley, where are you? Is Rob. What do you need? What happened? Corley, we're coming for you. Corley, can you find your flashlight? Corley, how much air do you have? I'm going to get you out, Corley. We're sending so-and-so in. We got the guys coming for you. It's Corley and Rob. It's not Main Street Command and Engine 1 Bravo with a Lunar. I'm trying to give Corley back his freaking self-rescue percentages, get his head back in the fight, activate his prefrontal cortex, and loosen his leash because his hair spiked, his ears are pinned back, and he's in full tight leash mode, like one dog going after another. And at that point, he cannot self-rescue.
Wow, man, dude. I love it. I love it when you get in the lizard brain. I love it. Scott Sanders wants to know, why are we carrying these heavy ass bags into a RIT operation and overtasking our people? Is it a rescue or a recovery? I'm should be fast and effective. Maybe it, but anyway, long story short, what's your thoughts on RIT bags? I'm not saying that they are heavy or not heavy, but your thoughts on RIT bags and what they should be like.
Well, Scotty's in great shape. If he's saying they're heavy, they're heavy. All right. I'm going to go with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
I'm not going to go against Scotty. But if he says they're heavy, they're heavy. Scotty, I have not. You got to bring the solution with you, bro. Right? If we're going to go strictly on the data, right? Strictly on the data, we understand that first company that makes contact or gets deployed for the down member, it's a recon team, for lack of better terms. They're going to get there. They're going to find them, hopefully. They're going to identify the needs and the issues with the down member, package them, get them either to shelter in place or let the next crew of members know what needs to be done. Okay. But if you show up as that RIT team that gets deployed, that initial, let's call it recon team, right?
Okay.
And that member is low on air or out of air, the only other substitute would be buddy breathing. And I'm not a fan. The data does not support buddy breathing.
Right.
It doesn't. You're going to get two members in trouble. You're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
So, do we have another solution right now in 2023 with the technology we have? I can't say the answer is yes or no, but in the technical rescue world, I'll address the technical rescue world. When we're dealing with confined space, we have escape bottles that we use. They're personal escape bottles that we use in case our SEBA units or our direct air unit lines get tangled up, twisted, or malfunction. We can use our escape bottles. Is that a possibility for the future to make things lighter, more compact, more mobile? Maybe, but that's something that, Drager, Scott, and whoever you guys use are going to have to deal with. But as far as bringing the bag in, you want to bring the solution to the problem. And even if you get there and you're just basically packaging, orienting yourself to the space, finding a secondary means of egress, finding out the problem is, if you get there and you don't have the solution for low air, no air, which is going to be 90% or more of our emergencies, then you're going to be jammed up. And we're, time is the enemy. Ben Schultz talks about it all the time, right? Ben Schultz talks about it all the time. Time is the enemy. Efficiency is our weapon. If we get there without the right equipment, we're going to lose that fight right off the rip. And we're already behind the 8 ball. We're already behind the 8 ball. 21 minutes for a RIT recovery, 7 minutes for self-rescue. The numbers are all out there. So if you look at the data real quick, you'll know that the data says and supports us bringing that bottle in. And if all we do is get to them, find them, talk to them, report back to command, let them know where we are, what we need, where he's going to be, and put him on air, that's a home run. That's a home run itself.
Let me ask you, because it's right in the same vein, and it comes from, before I lose the question, Jody Keeler wants to know, Mayday Ops, RIT bag questions. Do you carry a mask and regulator in the bag? What are the most important tools to have in the bag?
Yes, our bags carry a bottle, right? And it carries our regulator, a mask, sets of cutters, a pickoff strap with 2 non-locking oversized beaners. It carries a moving, basically a loading or moving stretcher, basically like what you see when they, you guys don't have that up north. We have manatees down here, right? And when it's like a heavy object mover. It's this roll-out blanket with handles for 6 people, and you can tuck it in the member and grab them, roll them up like a burrito, move them if you have to. So our bags carry that. We carry cutters. We carry 2 sets of pickoff straps with non-locking oversized carabiners to make those SCBA conversions. That's our primary method of doing it. And then we have our bottle with our high pressure side with our transfill line for the RIC-UAC. And then we have our low pressure side of the bag, which carries a mask and a regulator. The good thing for us is the data doesn't support it, right? The data says that 3%, 1% for mask failures, regulator failures. Those are very rare. 90% or more for low air, no air emergencies that are going to be solved with the high pressure side of the bag. So if you have a bag that's set up one side high pressure, one side low pressure, wouldn't it behoove you to travel through the space from deployment to the member, high pressure side towards the member? Yeah, like Scotty said, the bags are heavy. So what we teach is real simple. The data helps us create our methods. Our system is simple. That person in charge of the bag runs the bag through all the bells and whistles from our determined geographic positioning outside in the house. Once those members get deployed, everything's ready to go. But in the time that they reach, from the time they reach your location to deployment, the person in charge of that bag, my air guy, is opening the bag, making sure the mask is set up, making sure the regulator's set up, making sure that the transfill line is set up, ready to go, easy to find, making sure that the bottle's on, all the bells and whistles are working. That all happens outside where there's visibility, where there's less stress. Because when they do, and if they do strike that Mayday, and you enter that zero visibility space or that low vis environment, which is where 70% or more of Maydays have occurred, over 12,000 cases, right? You need to understand that you're not going to be able to see your hand in front of your face. So if everything wasn't fixed outside, you're sure as hell ain't going to fix it inside. When you're in a confined space in somebody's house you've never been in. Shit, I moved into my house like 2 years ago, and if I shut the lights downstairs, I still have to do a right-hand search pattern to find the freaking light switch. And I've been living there 2 years. Now, mind you, putting me in somebody else's house under the worst conditions possible, going after my buddy. So when we travel with 90% of the solution towards this problem. Our members get low, within below 3 feet. They drag in zero visibility, and that high pressure side goes forward. So that when we do reach the down member, I pass it to the front guy in the stack, and he's got 90% of the solution in zero viz at his lap. So everything has a reason. And we can expand on that later, how we actually do it, but everything that we do has a reason. And the reason is because it's been proven to work and it's data driven. We have to rely heavily on the data in the world of Mayday and firefighter rescue. There is no way around it. If you solely rely on your policies, procedures, if you solely rely on what's been working since 1985, you're solely relying on shit that's going to fail. Because as an industry, this is the part that you guys want to write this shit down. As an organization, as a fire service, we do not have enough experience on fireground Maydays. I don't give a shit if you worked in the Bronx in the 80s when it was burning, in the 50s and 60s and 70s and during the war years. It does not matter. Or you worked somewhere across the freaking on the other side of the Mississippi in Los Angeles. As an industry, coast to coast, border to border, we do not have enough Mayday information. We do not have enough RIT deployment information to create systems that are realistic. If we as a country are running 370,000 residential structure fires a year, and from those 370 or more thousand residential, not commercial, residential structure fires per year, we are killing 9 to 12 firefighters a year. Well, Rob, the last year, we killed 96. No, but from those 96, according to data, not drama, from those 96, only 9 were killed doing some form of interior firefighting operation, which tells you that out of 372,000 possible incidents, 9 resulted in a line of duty death from firefighting activities such as search, such as primary fire attack, or ventilation. Okay? I don't care about how you got there. If you died on the way over there, that's horrible. But those incidents do not require a RIT deployment. So we as an industry have an experience problem. This creates an experience problem. And the solution is training, and the solution is data. How you train matters, and if your training is not married directly to the data and to what we know works and doesn't work, then your training is BS, period. We are not teaching guys how to throw a ladder. We're not teaching guys how to do a search. We're not teaching guys how to stretch a line. We're not teaching guys how to flow 2.5. We're talking about shit that we're only getting to practice nationwide 9 times a year out of 370 to 400,000 possible opportunities. I don't even know what the math is for that. You're more likely to get COVID than run a RIT call. All right? It is absolutely, the information's not out there, bro. The information's not out there. We don't have it. So when I hear people say, this drives me crazy. Oh, you're too data driven, bro. Like, data is a substitute for experience. Data is something that men and women rely on to talk when they don't have fireground time. The answer is no. The answer is absolutely no. If I'm telling you that I'm relying solely on data to teach you how to throw a ladder, shame on me. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about RIT deployment models. We're talking about preventing the Mayday. We're talking about creating mindsets, procedures, processes, and systems that are going to keep your ass alive. And if we are not doing more than 9 a year nationwide, then I don't give a shit who you are. If you're making more than 9 Maydays a year, you have a firefighting problem, not a training problem. All right. I hate to hear the guys tell me, "Yo, I've been to 15 Maydays throughout my career." Then you have a regional problem. You're doing it wrong in the region. Because I've been to one Mayday my entire career, and we work in a region where they're running hundreds of thousands of calls in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County. Hundreds of thousands of calls, not hundreds or thousands, hundreds of thousands. And this is just not happening. So for anybody to sit there and say that we don't need data to learn best practices when teaching Mayday is an ignorant statement from somebody who just refuses to crack a book. I'm fired up, man.
No, dude, I love it. And Mark Alone, Devin Craig, two people who I love and actually respect very much. Both of them actually asked within 1 minute of each other, isn't data derived from experience? And then Devin Craig said, isn't experience personal data? And so they're both, I don't want to say challenging, but asking for clarification on the point.
100%. 100%. Every personal experience, especially failure, leads to data. That data, tomato, whatever you have internally creates creates fireground expectations, right? It creates a reliable gut feeling. All a gut feeling is prior experiences that resulted in a positive or negative outcome being stored in your hard drive. And then when you see it again, it hits that button, right? And and after you do that a couple of times, either you mess up enough or succeed enough, you get a really, really reliable gut instinct that can be based on either really good fireground practice or normalization of deviance, right? Sometimes you get so lucky doing the wrong shit for so long that it starts to feel right. And practice doesn't make permanent. Practice doesn't make permanent. There I go again. I can't even say it wrong.
Perfect.
Practice doesn't make perfect. It makes permanent.
Yes.
I've said it right so many times I can't say it wrong. Practice does not make perfect. It makes permanent.
Yes.
So if you do the wrong shit over and over and over again, it's going to be permanently wrong. So I hate to hear reps, bro. Reps, #reps, bro. Yeah, your reps are great, man, but if your reps suck, you're going to permanently fail on the repetition. So make sure that you guys are doing the right things based on the right information. Again, information versus affirmation. If I have a bunch of numbers that are telling me that this is what's most likely going to happen, I don't need to deep dive into those numbers to find out who turned it in. I don't need to look at 3,000 wormholes for freaking the firefighter rescue Mayday. I don't need to do that. But if 3,000 cases in firefighter rescue survey are saying this is where you're going to find the victim, you most likely should be training on finding the victim there.
Right.
That's what we call a clue. Okay. And if you're not training to that clue, you suck.
100%. 100%. Mark Alone said, meant to support Rob using data and people not misunderstanding data or choosing to ignore it because they don't like it.
Yeah. Mark,
so clarification.
Writer too.
Devin Craig right after him at the same moment, because these guys are like so in sync with each other, but it's not funny. But he said, and he in parentheses said, so I'm sure Mark Alone agree with Rob. But yeah. Absolutely. And then
two of my favorite people.
Mi Tocayo, es un caballo. So
that's Ortega.
That's got to be Ortega. You know it. I don't have to say who it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Reps. That's what we call a clue. From Amanda Bill. Okay. If you have questions, officially, I have read everything that I can read because right now it's cut off by Facebook. So more questions, throw them. Fast Wrench coming at you says, where do you like to see RIT staged in high-rise events and why?
Oof. Fast Wrench. Mr. Prescott, if you have not seen the Fast Wrench, this is going to be a shameless plug, Corley. All right?
Go.
Fast Wrench and I went to school together, paramedic school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a paramedic, and so is he, and we went to school together.
Right on.
Right on.
I love. Yeah, Dave. Yeah, awesome.
Dave's a solid dude, and his product is amazing. All you freaking water nerds and engine company guys, if you have not looked at Fast Wrench, when you get off the podcast today, go on Fast Wrench and check it out. It is badass. All right, it will change the way you guys see standpipe operations. Now, the question, it really doesn't matter, Dave. Again, even if we're going vertical versus horizontal, the numbers seem to stay the same. The good thing about vertical fires is that they stay contained within these fireproof buildings and hallways and spaces. So the building systems themselves, especially where we operate in South Florida, with our building construction type and models, The building systems themselves protect that fire from getting any worse. Of course, you have your extenuating circumstances where you have your open office space areas where things can get out of control or arson. But for the majority of the stuff that we're going to fight and see in our careers, it's pretty comfortable to say that they're going to be staging, floor below, ready to go if the conditions permit. I wouldn't change much. There isn't any supporting information to say that we're doing it wrong. There hasn't been any information on, RIT deployment models within high rises that went wrong because of the positioning. The positioning seems to be okay. Getting the members on the floor below. If they're not operating on the floor below, identifying the best means for entry or to the floor above, then they can be participating in some minor proactive drills as far as helping the host team get the hose out of the way, clearing the hallway space, getting victims out of the area, setting their equipment up, identifying the floor below, the layout, the doors, the systems, where the hallways go, where the intersecting hallways go, stair types, elevator positions. All these things you can establish in the floor below as a RIT team before you head upstairs, because it's going to be a cookie cutter model of each other in most of our buildings down here. But I wouldn't change much. And again, if you have not seen the fast wrench, go check it out.
Absolutely, man. No hard charging company likes to stand outside as RIT. This comes from Brian Garcia. How can we change our members' mentality when it comes to RIT, knowing the importance during a Mayday? Are you against RIT teams working outside, softening the structure? What's your thoughts?
That's the way you fix it, Brian. That's the way you fix it. Listen, I am not going to sit here and say for 1 second on the Corley Moore Scrap podcast that I get super duper excited when I get assigned to RIT.
Right.
Okay? I will never be that guy. You guys are going to see me somewhere and be like, yo, Rob, that's bullshit. The people that know me are going to be like, yo, Rob, that is bullshit. I'm not that guy. If I get assigned RIT, I am not going to be the happiest guy on the fire ground because we want to get after it. It's the nature of the beast, right? Every fiber in my body wants to get after it because we prepare so much. Right. We're in the business of preparation, not in the business of performing. We prepare so damn much for these fires and for these incidents, especially the company officer. That is my immediate return on investment. When I get my members trained up and ready to go into a fire and they actually get the opportunity to, and then they perform, man, what a home run. There is no bigger moral enhancer, right, than making a fire with your company and things going well. It picks up the morale for the entire organization. It picks up the morale for the members in your company. It is great, especially when you get to apply stuff that you've trained on. And that actually reminds me of a story which I'll cover later. But back to Brian's question. You have to be proactive. You have to create policies and procedures and expectations from within your shift to understand that RIT, although it may not be the assignment you want right away, once it is given to you, you got to carry out to the best of your ability because you are the 911 for the members on scene. There is nobody else that's coming for the member that gets in trouble. But chief officers, I urge you, let these RIT officers that you assign work. Let them walk around, do their 360s, identify the location, building type, construction, windows, heights, basements. Can they make the back? Can they open gates? Can they throw ladders to provide secondary means of egress for the members operating on the roof or the members operating on the floor above first? Can they soften the structure? In South Florida, we have impact glass for hurricanes. Do they have the right tools for that? Have they decided which way they're going to go in? Allow them to stage where geographically they can stage to create a fast, linear process from Mayday, Mayday, Mayday to deployment into the house. They should not be staging in the command post. They should not be staging on the address side. They should not be staging by command. They should be allowed and given the ability to stage anywhere they want around that structure and to put up ladders and to advise command that they have windows they can take out if coordinated with a fire attack, if coordinated with the company's inside. They need to advise command that they can use another means of entry. They need to advise command that they've softened the building, taken off shutters, HUD covers, whatever you're operating in, you need to let these members operate. At that point, RIT becomes a process and an activity that requires exertion, that requires thinking. And when you allow these men to think and exert themselves on a fire ground, it's an immediate reward for their investment. If you treat them like veal and keep them by you, don't let their feet touch the ground, don't let them move, don't let them get dirty, don't let them get sweaty. and watch everybody else work, then it becomes so unsexy. We're gonna go back to that RIT, where RIT stood for rectal insertion of the thumb. You stick there, you stand there with your thumb in your ass while everybody else works. That is not sexy. We got to get these members out there. We got to let these members work. So they create a process where, okay, I have multiple companies working on the Charlie Delta corner, second floor. I'm going to walk around, identify where the companies are, receiving the greatest amount of risk based on the activity they're doing. And I'm going to create a linear position geographically on the fireground where we're going to use that back door. I've already looked inside. It has a stairwell that leads us to the second floor. In addition to that, we're going to throw a 16-foot ladder to that window there at a perfect position, and we're going to set up our gear. And when these members call a mayday, we're going to use that door. We're going to go upstairs this way. If you start getting everybody thinking that way, that thing's contagious, man. And then RIT becomes a thing that people want to be a part of because it's better than doing nothing. Okay, and if you make it better than doing nothing, it becomes kind of sexy. But nobody wants to do RIT. Let's be real here. Everybody wants to get after it because they just don't do it enough. Right. And and again, we're in the business of preparation, not performing. So I want to perform when I'm given the opportunity. I don't want to be sit there and watch everybody else play, and I got to hang out in the yard. But what a home run to be that RIT team that does all those things, does your own 360, sees where the fire's going, see where the members are operating, throws a ladder up, decides where we're going to stage, forces the right door with the permission of the operating crews inside, advises command, this is where the fire is, this is what it's doing, this is how it's responding to our actions. We're either winning this fight or losing this fight. Listen to the operational tempo and stage in the position that would be the most beneficial for the members on scene to get there fast. Because again, time is the enemy, efficiency is our weapon, and point A to point B in a straight line is way faster than point A to point B by walking around the house looking for a door, forcing a door, getting your ass kicked by the door, getting inside. That all adds time to the process, and we can't have that. So long answer short, stage wherever you can stage, do whatever you can do in order to make RIT sexy. It has to be made sexy once you get it.
And I really think that really melts down to, obviously, unless you're just blessed to work in Jobtown, you don't get enough fires. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's fighting over the knob, everybody's fighting over vent, everybody's fighting over those coveted positions, and then you get assigned RIT. But you can look at it as a consolation, or you can look at it as we're going to be the best RIT that's ever been here.
That's how I look at it. Yeah. That's how I look at it. We're going to be the best damn RIT company they ever had here. I want every piece of equipment here, and it's going to be purposeful. Right tool for the right building construction, for the right side of the house, in the right location, with the right equipment. We're going to be mentally in the fight. Everybody's in the fight. And guess what's going to happen, guys? At some point, even if no one calls a mayday and members start coming in and out, you're going to get in the fight. Whether it's to pull ceiling or break something down or stretch a second line, or when something else happens, you're going to have that opportunity. You're going to have that opportunity. But if you're set up in the front yard, lackadaisical, wrong equipment, you don't know where anything is, where the members are operating, man, that is a disservice to everybody in that fireground. And shame on you for being that company. Shame on you.
Love it, man. Letting RIT be involved in the incident changes the outlook of the assignment. I'm reading Prescott here. Changes the culture, changes the Mayday mindset. That come from Prescott and Fast Ranch. 100% from BJ Breach said the RIT team needs to be granted flexibility and their duties must be fluid because the fireground is. Marco Rodriguez said making RIT sexy. Josh Zitnall said RIT bringing sexy back. So we got a little bit of T Lake in there just to so absolutely. Awesome. All right. I'm actually going to pull up the notes for the first time. This entire scrap so far.
Awesome.
Man, I don't even know where to start. I got vigilante questions of the week coming at you. Okay. So first one is Zach Golomboski said, what has been the biggest change, if any, over the years to training for Mayday situations?
I think we talked about a lot of it already. It's been in a constant state of evolution. NFPA is normally behind the 8 ball. NFPA just came up with a new NFPA recommendation, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And the way that we train for it has absolutely changed. And if it hasn't in your region, then your region needs to get with the times. We have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had before as an industry. You can't go online. You can't do anything without hearing these calls or seeing that information On Facebook, if there's a Mayday, I'll see it immediately. On Instagram, there's a Mayday, I'll see it immediately. There's a fatality, I can study it immediately. The brothers and sisters of the past that worked through the 80s, that worked through the 70s, and retired before this mainstream internet service came out, where we have all this information. They had to wait for some type of hard copy publication to come out, and that hard copy publication needed to wait till it was reported directly to them.
Right.
So the members in today's arena have so much information at their fingertips that if we're not using it to prepare for these Maydays, then again, shame on us, right? And I keep saying shame on us because I never want to be, I have that fear of being that company officer or instructor who just doesn't know what he should or she should, because the information's out there. If somebody else has that information, I should have access to it too. This is not some top secret NASA shit, right? We're not trying to figure out where COVID came from. We're talking about fireground operations. We're talking about simple fireground operations. If a Mayday happens today somewhere in Los Angeles and I'm in South Florida, I'll know about it within not days, but hours, and maybe minutes if there's somebody on the scene that I happen to be friends with. Okay? Now, that information needs to be dissected and broke down based on what we have available to us. So in order to answer Zach's question, information is more readily available than ever. Mm-hmm. So our systems are being updated constantly. The equipment that we carry has limitations that we've now actually identified. So we're using different processes to remove down firefighters from buildings, whether it's drags, carries, first floor, second floor. The way we carry these victims now changes because we have, UL studies that tell us how we should carry, what height we should carry, how we should drag, how we should not drag. There is tons of information out there that if you grab all that information, apply it to reality, marry that with real world experiences, you can have a complete product, because without real world experience, this information is just information. But when you have a little bit of real world experience, and then the information matches the real world experience, that's a home run, man. That perfect balance of classroom and application is a complete product. If you're all application, you're colloquial, you're regionally very efficient, but very nationally inefficient, if that makes any sense. Because the fire service is very like regional. But if I'm very efficient within my region, but then I also know what's happening in the Midwest, I know what's happening on the West Coast, I know what's happening in the Northeast, and I'm backing the information with UL studies, with Project Mayday, with NIM studies, man, that's a very, very powerful, conglomerate of information and application. And it's hard to knock that, man. It really is hard to knock that. It really is. So yes, the answer is yes. The shit's changing.
Second question from the Vigilantes is from Jordan Smith. He wants to know, if any, what type of training outside of the fire service has prepared you to be a better.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Right on. So you broke up at the last piece of the question. Outside
the fire service, what kind of training has prepared you to be a better fireman?
So not fire service related?
Yeah, just in general.
In general. The first thing that pops into my mind right now is, thanks to my father, rest in peace, Papa Ramirez. He, at a very early age, put me into judo, right? And this is the reason. Follow me down this wormhole real quick. Go ahead. By dad putting me in judo and wrestling, it really, really, really helped me out and prepared me for my life as a firefighter. Now, this is where real world experience on a fireground matches the application of the skill and the information that we have available to us. That goes back to the last question. We all talk about how we drag victims. We all talk about victims, feeling like they're like, you all find them the same way. They're either, butt naked, covered in Crisco, the suction to the ground. That's what they feel like they're suction cupped to the ground or stuck to the carpet or somewhere in furniture. And the more you drag them, the more they slip, the heavier they feel. And you don't need a big 300-pounder. You get a 150-pounder of dead weight and zero visibility, it'll smoke you, man. It'll smoke you, especially if all your training revolves around mannequins and shit that's not realistic. You start moving real human bodies of 150 pounds or more and zero viz with an elevated heart rate, and it's the first time you're doing this, it's gonna get all of your attention. That is an absolute max rep, max effort under the worst conditions possible. And if you do not have a system that is fail proof, they're going to slip and fall, slip and fall. You're going to slip and fall. If the heat grabs you by the nape of your neck and brings you down to the ground and adds another layer of difficulty to that drag, if you're not used to dragging below 3 feet, a big, heavy, naked, dead body, you're going to fail. If all your practice is on smooth, polished concrete Fire Academy floors with mannequins. So where my training outside of the fire service as an adolescent, teenager, and child really, really helped me out when I became a fireman was with having that strong judo and jujitsu, not jujitsu, that judo and wrestling background. Jiu-jitsu wasn't a thing for us yet in the 80s and 90s. And that really, really helped me understand body control, neck control, hip control, joint locks, 2 hands, 1 joint, the way you grab the wrist, the way you move the victims, the way you grab the knees and drag them where they can't slip, where I'm not reliant upon their clothing to drag them. I'm not reliant upon their bunker gear to drag them. I'm creating systems that work despite having anything to grab. So I'm not grabbing and using my hands. I'm deactivating the small muscle groups of my hands, my forearms, my biceps. You know, you're built to squat 500 pounds. You're not built to curl 500 pounds.
Right.
So I've been able, because of that background, to just understand the way that the body works a little bit better than I would have had I only learned to drag the Fire Academy way. And that's led to us creating primary, contingent systems, emergent systems of victim drags and carries that are not taught in the Fire Academy and revolve around joint manipulation and non-slipping, expecting to fail. If I know how I'm going to fail because it's a predictable failure, why don't I just avoid it? And I had to completely disown my previous beliefs that were taught to me in the Fire Academy, update my systems, and apply things that worked in order to create these drags and these carries that came from the world of judo and jiu-jitsu. And I said jiu-jitsu again, judo and wrestling. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. No, it's the question. I love the question, man. It was a great question.
Yeah,
and
I've never been asked that before.
More importantly, a great answer, man, because yeah, absolutely. It's not like it is especially if you're dragging the one that's missing a leg at the knee, and he's the plastic guy with his one bolt, and he's like,
and he's completely stiff and solid, stiff or missing a leg, and he weighs 180 pounds from the nipple line up.
Right,
like that was built that way.
Yeah, 100%, man. Every once in a while, yeah, I like that. How we train our people can directly impact their survivability. We talked about harder to kill, man. I think we've hit a lot, man. What else do you want to touch on? Because, brother, this is your scrap. I can throw more at you.
You throw whatever you want, brother. This is number 4. I'm having a great time. I can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm just honestly happy to be here. And I love the questions from the audience.
No, the audience is killing it. Preach it, brother, from Derek Smith. Live below 3 feet, again, from Derek Smith. I read twice. Mannequin equals training scars from BJ Breacher. Truth, real weight versus mannequins. Great job, Macho, from Neil de Jesus.
Neil de Jesus.
Neil de Jesus. Okay, I'm getting it right. Do you think the number of firemen needed for a successful Mayday RIT operation is due to a lack of training or bad application due to training? It's coming from Matty Johnson. What's your thoughts?
That's a loaded question from Matty Johnson. So,
I don't think Matty can send a question that wasn't loaded.
Man, Matty's on point.
Right
so
on.
the number of firefighters that we generally hear about that are necessary to conduct a RIT operation successfully is just a average number based on a study, not on multiple studies or everyday scenarios. There is no information, believe it or not, there is no information readily available that says for the 9 Maydays or the 12 Maydays you may run this year, or Project Mayday, for example, 12,000 Maydays, how many firefighters it took to remove the downed victim. That information is not readily available. That information, that magic number of 12 or 15, depending on the literature you read, comes from none other than the Brett Tarver Phoenix study.
Carver, yeah, the supermarket.
So that study created that number based on their information of how they ran the incident through training for over 1,000 members for the months after the study of the incident.
Right
now, and that number has been grabbed by instructors and taught across the country. The number of firefighters necessary to conduct a rescue is going to be highly dependent on where the rescue is occurring, the location of the victim, and the conditions which they are conducting the rescue under. The fire always gets a vote. Mm-hmm. If I have to go in a major fire, 0 visibility, and make 2 lefts, 3 rights, and go down a floor and travel 280 feet to the down member, it's going to take me 12, 15 guys. But if I'm in a shotgun shack and I'm going to travel 10 linear feet and make a right and run into the member, it may only take me 5 guys, depending on how far what the conditions are. So
right on, right.
I don't think it's a training issue. I think that it is a lack of information issue. These numbers have not been reported outside of the Brett Tarver Phoenix study, and the conditions and the fire and the victim location always gets a vote. It gets a vote on how many members we use for the Mayday. It gets a vote on your body position in that space, because if it's too hot or 0 viz, you're going to be low. You should be operating under 3 feet as much as possible. And then it's going to also determine how fast you move in that space. Because I don't give a shit who you are and how many ticks you carry. You're not going to move fast in that space. When you have 0 viz, high heat, you're not going to move fast. You're not. You're going to get in, you're going to get low, you're going to move, you're going to identify the layout, you're going to identify who the victim is, but you're going to move at a much slower, much more controlled pace, because you're incurring naturally more risk and more thermal insult. So all that gets a vote. So there isn't an answer for that. I'm not going to give you the lazy instructor answer that you're going to hear in 50 other classes. Oh, 12 to 15 for 1, and 1 out of 5 are going to become a Mayday themselves. No, I'm not going to regurgitate Phoenix studies to you guys. The information's out there. This is my opinion, and it's based on realistic expectations.
I love it, brother. I absolutely love it. That's why I love the scrap. Are you ready for a lighthearted question coming at you?
Always.
Hair product. It comes from Jamal Myers. Hair products.
And Jamal's got no hair, bro.
Hair products that you recommend.
Yo, listen. Pomade is excellent. Suavecito. All right, look it up, guys. Look it up.
Suavecito. There you go.
Suavecito is magic.
And Matty Johnson said LFG, all caps.
Yeah, he's the man.
BJ Breacher said this scrap has me fired up. Great Lake, is it June yet?
That's awesome. Yeah, we're heading up to Great Lakes with Sean Duffy and the family up there in June.
Yes,
so we'll be up there together. Yeah,
gonna be good times.
I see Corley everywhere I go now.
That dude, basically, we're just absolutely.
That's how I know. That's how I know I'm doing well. Whenever I see Corley, I'm like, man, I'm doing well. Corley, everywhere I go, that's a home run.
Shoot.
You want to talk about? Let's talk about the training processes. Can we talk about that real quick?
Go.
Okay. Oh,
please.
So, training processes. When we talk about training processes, this is what I mean. I've noticed a huge failure in the fire service when it comes to training our young. When we train our young, we are too fast to give up on them based on the time set to train them. So if you're a recruit development or a new hire training officer or whatever jargon your organization uses for, you're the guy in charge of training the new guy before they hit the floor or they get on a fire truck.
Right.
You are married to a time set and a standard. And I understand that. So this does not apply to you. Okay? This does not apply to you. This applies to the men and the women who grab that new hire and train them to a certain level. There's a way that you get a firefighter to a certain level. And it's through a process that's very, very simple, because it goes very, very close to what we all know works, which is human behavior and the way they're going to react. I cannot find success as a student from a position of failure. Again, I will repeat, I cannot find success as a student from a position of failure. So For example, if day one, week one, I get a new hire person on my truck. We call them candidates. And I get this new hire candidate on my truck. And I say, today we're going to go and we're going to do an SCBA confidence drill. That's what they call the mazes now, right? The kinder and gentler, right? So it's an SCBA confidence drill. And I grab this young man or young woman and throw them in that drill. Zero viz, can't see shit, can't feel shit, fully encapsulated, wearing oven mitts, and I keep stretching them out, and I put them through little openings, big openings, triangles, rectangles, squares. Somewhere in that process, he or she may freak out. I tell them, hey, you're not allowed to use your flashlight. When they make a decision, I shut the door on them, they can't get out. And when they fail and or panic and or just happen to pass, but had a hard time, I immediately make the assumption that they are either unqualified, unfit, or they're just going to suck at this fucking job.
Right.
Shame on me.
Right.
Shame on me as an organization. Shame on me as a training instructor. Shame on me as a company officer.
Hell yeah.
There are levels to this game. Everybody does not come in the door ready to go. We all grow. And those first 5 or 6 years are the most selfish years of our career, where we're constantly absorbing and learning. So allow them to grow. And how you grow these people from day one is you may get a stud. You may get a stud. Man, God bless those studs. If I have 3 guys in front of me, one of them is a dud, the last guy's a stud, the one in the middle is in the middle. Man, he's better than he should be, but he's not a stud yet.
Right.
I may put all 3 of them in the same maze, but if I don't get that first dud, that first kid to get and negotiate that maze, and when he or she gets stuck or gets jammed up or starts panicking, if I don't bring them down from that panic, allow them to succeed, allow them to understand what it feels like to negotiate that maze where body and mind are in the right place at the right time and they're making the right moves and they found that flow, then they cannot build on that drill. So I may put them in there with no air pack on, just bunker gear, and give them a flashlight. And when they get jammed up, I'll allow them to use their flashlight. And I'll talk them through it. I won't micromanage or coach them. I'll talk them through it. Do this, do that, do the other, and turn your flashlight off and go. It's a reset button. Yes. And they'll negotiate it and pass, negotiate it and pass. But Rob, what if they fail? Well, that's where we stop. We don't continue failing. That's where we stop. And when we talk about it in the after action, and I bring them in and I show them where they got jammed up and why they failed. Guess what's going to happen, guys? At some point, over time, 2 or 3, 4, maybe the next day, drill, you're going to go ahead and do it again with them, and they're going to pass. And then you're going to stop them, and you're going to tell them, hey, that was a home run. That was a good job.
Right on.
You know how you felt? You saw what you did. You saw how you negotiated that. That's what it feels like to win. Now let's put an air pack on you and chase that win. But now they have a target. Now they have a target to hit. In the first day, they're operating in the blind. They don't know where they're supposed to be because they've never been there. And you can't build success from a position of failure. It's like rope. It's like rope. It's progress capture. If I gain a foot on the rope and I lock it in, I gained a foot, and that's my progress, and now I captured it. Now I grab another foot of rope and I capture it. But I cannot take 10 feet of rope on one shot because the system is not built for that. Neither is a human brain. So eventually I want to get that member to grow systematically into an SCBA, into being blacked out, into getting having them go through the process fully blacked out on air, interrupt the decision-making process, and having them work through their algorithms from a primary plan. Okay, that didn't work. Let's go with an alternate plan. That didn't work. Go with a contingent plan. That didn't work. Here's my emergency plan. And you watch them process from middle brain to front brain, middle brain to front brain.
Right.
Fully encapsulated. And at that point, you have a finished product, and you've increased their survivability, and you've made them hard to kill. But if day one, you ruin them, then they're ruined forever, and you just made somebody who's very easy to kill. And that's a shame on you, because that's the person that's going to bang out sick on days that they have scheduled training. That's the person who's going to have mass failure at fires. That's the person who's going to have medical issues at training. These are the people that you build and you own for 30 years, 25 years, depending on whatever pension your department provides. But you own that person now. And sometimes it's not on them, it's on you. And you got to own that. So I'm very, very mindful of these things. And if I'm not married to that day one, 10 week, 6 week, 12 week, whatever your hiring recruit process is, if I'm not married to that time frame and that's those standards, I take my time with these men and women so that at the end of the day, a year later, 2 years later, I'm dealing with a fully functional, fully capable, self-reliant firefighter who can operate autonomously under the worst of possible conditions and provide better service to the community that they serve. That's my goal.
So lock it up. I don't know if I can soundbite a 10-minute rant, but I will try my best. No, dude, you're killing it. You are absolutely killing it. I'd love to ask people books that you think firefighters should be reading.
Books or books. So right now, I'm not reading books. I am in school. I am a full-time degree seeker. I have homework every Wednesday and every Saturday. I'm writing papers every week.
You got to meet that deadline.
I'm reading
no matter what time zone you're in, you got to meet that deadline.
You already know. You already know. Hey, we were on Central Time. Who'd have thunk it? So yeah. Anyhow, yeah, I'm reading the most boring books in the world, public administration books. But I do a lot of Audible. And I've been listening to a lot of good Audible books. My weekly listen, man. My weekly listen, and it's been said on your show 100 times. My weekly listen is Atomic Habits. That book means so much to me in the world of Mayday Mindset. That book to me is my weekly listen. I listen to it today. I'll listen to it tomorrow. If I am feeling down, I'll listen to it. If I teach a class, I talk about it. Atomic Habits is my book. The small wins matter. That 1% change rule matters. If that whole mindset about your main concern should be your trajectory, not your results. I fully buy into that. I think it's a genius book for the fire service and for anybody that's considers training. I love leadership books. We've talked about Simon Sinek in the past.
Yes,
these are all things that I've read and that I listen to a lot. But right now, Corley, I'm just focused on school, man. I wish I could give you some really cool books.
Matty Johnson said he does homework at bars.
So. I've been doing homework at bars. I wrote a paper in Iowa last week.
Right on, brother. No, and it's an awesome book, man. Atomic Habits, one of the best books if you want to make a change that lasts in your life. If you want to make a change in your life, it's an amazing book. All right, Robert. Now, you were here. I got to say Robert, like I'm your mom. Robert.
Hey. Only my mom and my ex-wife call me that. Go ahead.
I know. You told me that. But no, 100%. We have a thing. You've done the first 5 questions for firefighters, right? That was when you were here on number 96, 95. It was in the mid 90s. 96. Yeah. Okay. And then around 120, we switched it up. And so I didn't send you these ones. So I don't know if you've watched enough to know what's coming, or if not, but they are 5 questions. The next 5 questions for firefighters. I ask the questions, you the answers. There is no right or wrong answer. The points are arbitrary, assigned by me with the assistance of the audience that is watching. My question for you is, are you ready for the next 5 questions for firefighters?
Send it, brother.
All right, audience, help me gauge the quality. I don't know if that's fair. The quality of these answers. Number 1, what single characteristic makes the difference between a run-of-the-mill firefighter and the top-tier go-to badass firefighter?
Honestly, from the hip, I was gonna go with humility, right? Humility matters, but when you're a young fireman, humility is not really a thing. Humility kind of grows as your self-perception and self-importance grows. You start learning more, and you think that all of a sudden you know everything, so you need to become more humble. So I'm gonna go with the lifelong learner. Lifelong learner is gonna be my answer. I identify as a lifelong learner. My goal is not to read a book. My goal is to be a reader. My goal is not to be a trainer. I want to be a lifelong student. I don't want to learn things. I want to continue learning things. It's an infinite process. Again, not a finite process. I've never been to a conference or had a conversation with guys like you or done programs like this where I haven't walked away learning something. I am completely bought in on the process of learning. If you are not learning at every single stage of your career, then you are just taking up space and you are plateauing. And guess what, guys? No one plateaus in a positive fashion. No one is that good. You have to be a continuous learner, because either learning or your skills are perishing. So no one just plateaus. No one remains neutral. Let's focus on being lifelong learners, and that's going to separate you from the pack. That 1%, let's go back to Atomic Habits. We just talked about it, damn it. That 1% investment every single day may not feel like much, but over the course of a lifetime, those returns are huge, huge if those are positive 1% investments. Read something every day. Read something every day. And at the end of your career, you've read so much shit that you're going to be so much better for it. So be a lifelong learner and give that 1% every day. Again, it's about the majority of the time, not every single time, and the majority wins elections.
I don't even know what to say. Can you get more than max points on one answer? Like legit. No, if anybody knows me, if anybody's listened to me anywhere, humility is the number one answer, period. Right? And you took that and you said, here's my answer initially, but this is the wisdom of Rob, who's lived a long life and understands stuff. So let's throw that out the window and let's go back to, and then you just crushed it, dude. Varsity AF answer, max points on number one. Literally, man, I don't even know if I could, number two. That was a great answer, brother. I'm really trying not to be too hype about it, but what a great answer. Number two, if you could go back in time, give yourself one piece of advice as a rookie, what would it be?
Right now would be get your degree sooner, but because I got a 7-month-old at home and I'm working on a degree and I'm doing all this side hustle. So life is I'm guitar string tight stretched, but in reality, play the long game. Play the long game. That would be the advice I would tell myself as a young man. I feel like I sped through the process in the beginning. I've talked about this in other podcasts before. I got promoted to lieutenant year 4 or year 3.5. And I never really enjoyed being a fireman. I wish I would have had more time as a fireman, but I was a 26-year-old lieutenant. And I would tell myself to play the long game. And the long game would have been master the firefighting. Once you complete that level, move on to becoming a company officer. And then once you complete that primary initial bugle, and that first bugle is the hardest bugle. After that, go out and chase that second bugle, which is where I'm at now. And once I finish where I'm at now mentally, I'll be ready to cross those bugles and become a chief officer. But I do have a goal in mind where I'd like to see myself come year 25. I'm in year 22 now. But I do understand that the beginning of my career felt fast for me. So I would tell myself to play the long game. And that's something that's really hard for a young man to understand. Right. 22-year-old Rob, 23-year-old Rob would not understand that at all. But I was full of piss and vinegar.
Right.
And that nobody could have told me to slow down. So I understand that when I talk to a young man or a young woman at one of these conferences, and they tell me that they've been on for 2 years and they're getting ready for the lieutenant's exam, and I tell them, man, take your time, play the long game. I'm in a glass house,
right?
Because I'm teaching from a position of failure, and I'm giving advice from a position of regret, not do what I did,
Dude, I love that position of regret. I love that statement right there. Because the question is, if you could go back in time and talk to 20-year-old Rob, holy shit, how many lessons? Throw the fire service out of it.
Oh my God. The fire service is the easy part.
No, without a doubt. So I get that part of it where you say there's no hypocrisy in this. This is talking to your younger self with the wisdom that you've gained through life experiences. Max points on number 2, especially for the understanding that, hey, young Rob would have told you to fuck off.
100%.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. 100%. All right. Yeah. Number 3, what is your favorite training drill?
My favorite training drill has anything that has to do with a truck company operation. And I'll be honest with you. I hate anything that has to do with forcing a door, throwing a ladder. I love to throw ladders. I throw ladders every single shift. Even if I'm by myself, I'll throw a ladder. I think throwing ladders is the coolest thing on the fireground. I think that forcing doors is an art. I think that I'm not in a position right now where I would be forcing doors as a company officer. My GPS setting is not at 3 feet or 6 inches above or below the deadbolt. My GPS is more at like 20 or 50 feet, whereas yours is probably at 100 or 150 feet with a more global view of the fireground. But anything that has to do with truck company operations, and then cheating is RIT, because RIT is so important to me, and we just don't do it enough. So the company that I had before, the company I have now, was completely jam up, ate up with RIT, and that was like our go-to apparatus bay drill each and every time. Low air, no air drills, mass replacements and ideal H drills, firefighter packaging, and they would time themselves. You want to add a little bit of stress to any type of drill, put a timer in,
Right.
And so these guys were ate up with that. But my personal favorites, if I was able to choose what I wanted to do each and every time, it would be that. With that said,
Okay.
because I feel comfortable in that arena, it is my favorite. What do I need the most? Honestly, I got to stretch more lines and flow more water.
Ah. Ooh, I like that.
I'm
Again, this
talking for both sides.
this ties back to that humility. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it,
What
man.
what I like to do, bro, is what feels real comfortable for me. It's nice and cozy. It's 68 degrees and breezy with a nice freaking sunny day. That's what ladder companies operations are to me. So what I need to stretch and flow. Not because I like it,
Ooh.
but I need it.
I'm going to say this is number 184, and I've been asking this question since 120. You're the first person who's brought up. I correct me if I'm wrong, audience, but this is the first person that's brought up the stuff I'm uncomfortable with. And so max points on number 3 for a completely different reason than just identifying with what you're saying. Although you probably had it locked in with the RIT because that's right in your wheelhouse. So 100%. Dude, killer answer. Number 4, what mistake have you learned the most from in your fire service career?
I screwed up a VES as a lieutenant. I screwed up a VES opportunity as a lieutenant. I've talked about this one before somewhere, and that was a turning point for me to realize that I didn't know shit. I was regionally proficient. I wasn't fire service proficient. My employer would have told me I did a great job. The fire service would have told me I sucked and shit the bed. And I pride myself on being a member of the fire service who gets a paycheck from a fire department.
Right on.
I want to be a member of the fire service, coast to coast, border to border. I want to run with the big dogs. I want to be on the varsity squad, whether I'm running with guys from the Northeast, from the Southwest, from Texas, from the Midwest, from California. I want to run with the big dogs. That's the people I want to be around because they're going to make me better. And
Right.
on that day, I wasn't better. On that day, I completely shit the bed. I was a new officer. We made a fire. I was first due. I had been to that house before. I knew where the child's bedroom was. The mother met me in the front yard. Black cotton candy, thick turbulent smoke coming out the front door on the alpha side. She told me the 4-year-old was in the back bedroom, Charlie Delta corner, single story ranch. And instead of making the window, I made the front door. And I tried to go through the front door the way that I had done it before when I was there for a medical call.
Sure.
And I got my ass beat with thermal insult and zero vis. And I didn't put my hood on. And it was that domino effect of shit that just went wrong. I needed to get out of the structure because I was burning up. I took a beating to my ears and my neck. I pulled my other 2 members out with me. And I thought in my mind that I had just failed that 4-year-old. And hindsight being 2020, I should have known better. 15 years ago, I wasn't doing this VES thing.
Sure.
And thankfully, the story had a positive result. The kid ended up self-rescuing, making his way to the backyard, at which time the neighbor next door grabbed him and brought him into his property. But I could have been a part of the last day of that child's life by not doing what he should have expected me to do on any given day. Because if the fire department shows up at my house under the same conditions with my 4-year-old trapped in the Charlie Delta corner of a single story ranch and didn't put on their hood and made their way through the alpha side and got their ass kicked by thermal insult and had to pull out and regroup and go back in and get their ass kicked again, man, I would not be as forgiving as I probably should be as a Christian man. So that day, that failure set the tone for me and let me know that I wasn't nearly ready to do what I thought I had to do if I needed to do it. And it set the course for the next 15 years of my career. And that is 100% honest. And this is my failure, my vulnerability I'm putting out there.
I don't know if I've, easily, I don't care what anybody says, max points. You share that. You tie it in with humility. You admit that mistake. Holy crap. And not only that, man, but like you said, if your engine company showed up today and did it at your house, the level you would hold them accountable to.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Engine Company 48, Palm Beach County services my house. When I'm here or working or teaching, they service my house where Nash and Gavin live. Neither one of them can self-rescue. Those are my boys. Neither one of them can self-rescue for different reasons. I expect them to get them out when I'm not there.
Right on.
I cannot have them have a mass failure. I cannot have them not get stressed out. I cannot have them not be able to force the door. I cannot have them not do a proper search. I cannot have them not be able to throw a ladder. That cannot happen. They are responsible for every child in their first due when they go to bed. And if you don't feel that for your first due, man, get out. This job is not for you. Because I know that in my first due, I take pride in knowing that every single kid in my first due, every Gavin and every Nash in my first due is going to get 110% of me and my crew because we prepare for that. We're in the business of preparation.
Yeah, Cody Brooks said it best. Whole new respect for Rob. Holy shit. Yeah. Final question. Are you ready for it, my brother?
Send it.
Heavy fire. It never changes. Heavy fire. Searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle first in VES?
That question's easy for me. After my VES story, I've been waiting 15 years to make up for it. So I'm chasing that VES every single fire, every single searchable space. And being a RIT instructor and being ate up a RIT, I strongly believe that if you cannot truck, you cannot RIT. And I will chase that VES each and every day.
My brother, Robert Ramirez, that might be the easiest max points I've ever given on the 5 questions. The next 5 questions for firefighters. People say it's easy to get max points. I don't care. I have badass quality guests like week in, week out, man, and they crush it each and every week. And you just absolutely crushed the answers to those questions. And with that, it makes it officially pushing 2 hours, 184 scraps in the books. Mi hermano, Robert Ramirez. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do so?
I am available on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Look me up. My cell phone number is 305-407-4708, 305-407-4708. And I'll be at a conference near you. We're booked solid for the year. I'm looking forward to catching some of you guys on the road, man. I genuinely love talking to firemen. It's my passion. And thank you for coming on. Thank you for listening. It's been a blast.
There you go, man. My brother. Go to firehousevigilance.com. Mega Scrap Delta is coming up next week, 1 week from today, on the 27th. 1 week from today, it's building construction. It's building construction with the roof perfs. I thought there was no way that 2022 could be like the run of guests we had in 2022 was unbelievable. But here we are. 2023 is absolutely crushing it and killing it. Let me see what we got. Amazing guests continue. Mega Scraps coming up. If you want a sticker pack, go rate the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to it. Rate it. Send me a screenshot. I will bribe you with stickers. Do so. Send me a message. I don't care where you send it to me. Facebook, Instagram. I don't care. And I will get you stickers and bribe you for those. Show the sponsors love. Keyhose, Affordable Drill Towers, Citizens First, Fire Training, and FDIC. Please, please, please show them love and let them know. If you are not a part of the Vigilantes, you're missing out. Go join up. We're going to have Vigilante meetups. It's going to get better and better. $5 measly a month, and you are part of the exclusive community, exclusive discounts, exclusive swag, and access to influence the future scraps. All that being said, Rob Ramirez, thank you for being such a phenomenal guest and making it a great scrap.
Corley, thank you for having me again, man. And it doesn't get said enough to you. Thank you for what you're doing for the fire service. What you and Amanda are putting together, what you and Amanda have built, has secured your legacy for the next 100 years, brother. Thank you. Oh. We are fully all indebted to you guys. You're hitting home runs day in, day out, and you do not see it enough. You do not hear it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you from a friend. I'm not a fan. I'm a friend, bro. I love you to death, and you're crushing it. And I'm so proud to be your friend. Thank you
Brother,
for having me on.
I'm terrible at compliments, so all I can say
I know
is
you are.
thank you. I know, thank you, dude. I love you. I love you. Thank you so much for saying that. You get me emotional. Audience, you make the scrap magical. Thank you for tuning in live each and every week. Because with, dude, me and Rob had a list of how many topics, like 9 or 10, and seriously, the audience just said, "No, f you." Here's what we're going to talk about. The audience makes the scrap magical. I love it. There are levels to this game.
There are levels to this game.
And
you get to choose yours.
Yes.
You get to choose yours.
Mutts don't scrap. I hope the tone stays silent unless it is burning. Everybody, stay safe out there.